Hi, I'm Doug from Global West. Thought I'd take a minute to talk to you about our tubular upper control arms for 1967 through 69 Camaro and Firebirds. This also fits 68 through 74 Novas and Venturas. We came up with this tubular upper control arm in the early 90s. We did quite a bit of research back then on what exactly that chassis required to make it work. One of the things we determined was that caster was a big issue in reference to making the entire plant on corner entry. So when we did our engineering work, we determined that 6 degrees of positive caster was necessary on those chassis to make two things happen. Actually, three. The first is you're going to generate straight line stability because they never had 6 degrees before. Secondly, it affects the camber sweep, and it improves the camber sweep, keeping the tire flatter on the pavement through the initial turn-in when you make your turn. And the other thing it does is it lowers the outer tie rod end, which in effect improves your bump steer. Those particular chassis, on an average, have 3/8 of an inch toe change for 1 inch of travel. When you put the control arms on, and when we crank that caster up and lower that outer tie rod end, in a sense, what we've done is reduce the bump steer to less than 1/8 of an inch toe change for the same amount of travel. So the 6 degrees is really the best number that we came up with when we were doing our research that works the best on that car. More than 6 degrees does not get you anything more, and running less gives you less. 6 degrees is the magic number. So when we built this particular control arm, I'm going to show it to you here. This is a CTA 79A. This is one of, we ran this control arm, this design for years. It has the Del-a-lum bushings, as you can see right here with grease fittings. It's got our billet cross shafts, which we've always produced. And it's a tried and true application. It bolts on. You can run your stock spindle. You can run a drop spindle. You can use your stock lower control arm with it. It's a nice package for the handling side or straight line side of whatever you want to do. I happen to have a stock control arm here just to give you an idea of what you're going to go to. These, by the way, weigh a little over 10 pounds each. This particular control arm, our older style, weighs about 8.7 pounds. And now we have a new design, which is this. And this weighs even less than that. It's an 8-pound control arm. We're still maintaining the billet cross shafts. We're still running the Del-a-lum bushings. These are all tried and true systems. The caster is still built into it. Now, one of the things with the caster is that I mentioned earlier that it affects the camber sweep, and that's exactly what it does. So when the car goes through the turn on the initial turn-in, it lays the loaded tire over a little bit more negative in your camber setting, which means the top of the tire tilts in towards the engine, and the unloaded side actually tilts out of the fender. So it kind of acts like a grater, you know, if you ever watch a grater turn, how it lays over. Well, what this basically does is with that camber sweep and running the 6 degrees, it takes those tires and it leans them over and digs into the pavement. Now there's still some positive camber gain that we have, and that's through the geometry, the factory geometry, which we're still operating to a certain degree. But it's got enough negative camber in it that it stays in the negative zone. And that's what makes the tire hook up, keeps it planted on the pavement. The car makes the turn. So for autocross, even road racing, straight street line, drag racing purposes, this particular control arm has benefits in it all the way through with what we've done with the 6 degrees of caster. It's amazing what caster will do on your chassis. So, part number CTA 79A. An aggressive control arm for the street, road race, autocross. It works in all camps. It does not create harsh rides. It doesn't change anything. It gives you the best alignment possible. The factory control arms, even if you use offset control arm shafts, will never get you to 6 degrees. You'll get about 3.5. We give you new alignment specs with this particular kit. You won't be able to go back to stock settings once you put these on. Make sure your alignment guy understands that, sets his machine up accordingly with our specs. It doesn't increase tire wear. In fact, it improves tire. So you have less wear. CTA 79, for the Camaros, Firebirds, Novas, Venturas. Hot setup.